investing in human capital,
Mm-hmm.
which is education, skill development, digital literacy, supporting an innovative workforce. Those are really key. Some of the spaces that we see will take us there. One is tech. We can't ignore it. That's why you see that the government has really tried. Last year, they released the digital transformation roadmap, and it encompassed many sectors. It wasn't just for the government. There was a lot of work for the private sector to also work on.
Do you aspire for a booming middle-class economy? Listen along and understand what turns the wheels of Uganda's economy with our line of incredible influencers in their fields.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the podcast on Uganda, our most popular segment on marketing. And today we are pretty much excited because we have another marketer, communicator, Miss Primera Muthoni. She is the team lead at Analytics Business Center. First of all, your name, Muthoni. This is the podcast on Uganda. What are you doing in Uganda? Yeah.
I am Ugandan by demand.
I love that. Ugandan by demand. My grandmother was from Nakuru, Kenya, and she's also Kikuyu like yourself. And she
Oh,
gave me Wangeshi. So it's not my government name. So we're very happy to have you on the podcast.
thank you very much.
Why would we not be thrilled to have you, Modoni? You
Thank
have
you.
such an incredible range of experiences from leading teams in tech and also mentoring young professionals and writing books. If you had to sum up your career in a hashtag, what would it be?
Happiness and enjoyable.
Happiness and enjoyable.
Yes. I
Wonderful.
actually enjoy my Mondays. I look forward to one.
So why don't we hear it? Tell us about how you got into communications. Where did it start?
I usually say that I got in here because I was born at the right time. It's just simple. I didn't have this big dream or this chat to get there. I feel like I was just born at the right time. So when we were leaving university, that time there was 2G, and I think we'd wake up at night just to connect to good internet because during the day it was just like really not good at all. And of course, we didn't have smartphones at uni. We were already using work connections, getting to see the change from 2G to 3G to 4G to 5G. And we were just born at the right time to get to experience all this. So I started at MTN, surprisingly, as a graduate trainee, and it was a 6-month program, pretty much the first graduate trainees, and they had not had that before, and were only 7 at the time. And this is after we had gone through rigorous interviews, and I got there, and my first job was at the NOC. The NOC is the Network Operations Center, where we basically monitor the network. And it was very helpful for me to be able to learn Uganda and where everything was. And it's not the highest job after doing engineering. I did engineering, telecommunications engineering at Makerere. And being able to sit at the NOC was a very humbling experience because it's like the lowest job in engineering in a telco environment, because that's where you are. You're just monitoring the network, getting the engineers to log in, supporting other high service level engineers to be able to know what they're working on. But there's no much work you're doing on your own without a lot of supervision.
Yeah.
And then like 3 months in, actually I tell people my first day was my last day there.
Yeah.
Because I spent 4 years at engineering school. There is no way I'm staying here. I just understood, but I was like, I love the opportunity, but I'm not going to be able to stay here long.
Okay.
So 3 months, I'd figured out what I wanted to do, because as much as it's not one of the highest, so I picked an area and I said, I want to do this. 3 months in, I started volunteering. So that means I was working more hours. I had to work extra. So my shift would now start at 7 in the morning and end at 3. That is at the NOC. And then I'll do 3 to like 6 p.m., another 3 hours in a different department because I wanted to learn more what they were doing. So I did that between, I think, March and August. And they discovered that they actually needed that role in that section. They had never thought about it. They had a lot of backlog of work.
Yeah.
And someone actually came from customer service to actually find out who is this who is doing this work.
Yeah.
I was able to get that done. So by August of the following year, they employed their first 2 employees. And you can't believe it. Today, it's a full-fledged department in MTN.
But
It's
you
a full-fledged.
alone back in the day.
Yes, yes. I just volunteered and I just saw a gap and I'm like, I'm going to do this. So in the end, I actually got a job in that section. That's how I moved. 2 years later, I moved into the marketing department. But all in all, like in our environment, what I learned is that there's so much opportunity. You just need to see it and then make use of it. You don't have to get paid extra, but just make use of those opportunities you're seeing in your environment.
For clarity, I could have missed it. Was your background in marketing or engineering?
So I started in engineering. So I've been in work environment for 15 years. So the first 5 were in mainstream engineering, developing products and solutions. And then the last 10 have been in marketing.
And which one do you like more, just out of curiosity?
So what happened is that the combination of both landed me in product management.
Okay.
So in product management, I'm lucky that I get to do both every day. So marketing, I'm doing user experience, defining user journeys. Then on the other side, I have to maybe support on how the integration is being done. So I get to do both.
Yeah.
I enjoy marketing. It's an interesting science that most people don't actually think is very important. And I don't think people understand the depth. It's interesting when you're introduced to it a bit late, because the day I first went to work, I said, okay, I think I can do this. And that's when I realized that marketing was much wider than I actually thought. It meant a lot of work for me to catch up in the marketing space. It meant going back to school, meant learning fresh.
Okay. You had an engineering background, but then you went on to learn about marketing. That's brilliant, because I guess we have to adapt. We have to be agile in the way we do things, especially in today's very fast changing landscape of communications. I think also other industries or other paradigms, because you can't stick to what you know for the longest time. Things are gradually changing. You're using a lot of technology to influence how people do businesses. Why is it important for businesses to be empowered through technology, or for them to just use technology within their businesses?
There are so many benefits to that. The first thing that I've learned in marketing is there is a lot of requirement for a business to be able to understand its customer, then being able to provide the right product for the different segments. That information, most of the time, business people just use a gut feeling. Oh, I think this is selling faster. Or I think I should order this. Which, like for most businesses in Uganda, especially the non-service where we have goods, someone is talking a lot. They have stores and stores of shoes, clothes, things like that.
Yeah.
But they can't even estimate properly, like why they need this shoe size, for example.
Yeah.
When we add technology into our business, there are so many advantages. We are able to tell such things. What kind of products am I selling? What's moving faster? If I have salespeople, I can tell which salesperson is actually doing better than another. I can be able to understand different behaviors of customers through the year. I can know what to order maybe during Easter, during Ramadan, during Christmas time. It gives me a lot of information that I would not have on an ordinary day. Technology makes our lives easier as business people. We don't always have to be in the business the whole day.
Yes.
Checking on how much stock do I have, how it's moving. Otherwise, you don't have to because of technology. You're able to do so much more.
I like the simplicity and practicability of the example you've given. Some people just need to understand their audiences more. That's very practical, and which we try to bring onto the podcast, because sometimes we speak very huge language and it's not really understandable by the young listeners who tune in for these episodes. Speaking of the trends, what have been the trends you've noticed since you got into product management, from your journey as a professional, from MTN and all the way today, that you've seen on how people are using technology that we should be paying attention to?
There are quite a number of things. I'm going to speak into some of those that I've seen.
Mhm.
One of the things that we've seen is literally a lot of usage of mobile phones. Before, we could see a lot of usage in terms of laptops or computers. We have a lot of adoption in terms of mobile apps. People are using them, they're happy to download them. But also, one of the reasons why is because the smartphones are getting better. So with even 150,000, 200,000, you can get a smartphone
Yeah.
that has enough storage that allows you to actually download mobile apps.
Yeah.
Before, a phone of the same price would not even have 4 GB storage to allow you to download apps. That was a problem before.
Yeah.
Internet services, we continuously see our two telecoms, MTN and Airtel, the data prices are going down.
Mhm.
Over time, we also have the government offering free Wi-Fi in certain spaces. They have really tried, which also helps us be able to continue to connect to the internet and consume the services.
For the
Then
sake of our listeners, what places are these that have free Wi-Fi?
the government has rolled out through NITA, we have a lot of Wi-Fi needs.
Yeah.
I've tried around Naguru, Wandege and Tinda. I can actually see the Wi-Fi connection, which is really important for us
Yeah.
to do. Also around the universities, they are really keen on being able to do that.
That's good to know.
The government ICT hub in Akawa, UICT, all those are providing enough services. You can actually go and sit in some of these places and be able to work. Inside Makerere University, there is also the P funded labs that are also providing internet services, connectivity.
Wait a minute. Do you know what it will take for Uganda to achieve a middle class economy by 2040? Please send us an email at onuganda@gmail.com.
You can go and sit there and get work done. We are seeing a lot of transformation in Uganda in the area of solutions.
That is great. I personally didn't know about these free internet hotspots. It would be nice for also some listeners to go check them out and try them. However, I think they should be careful. Sometimes when you log on to just random internet hotspots, they'll tell you if you're really sure you want to log on to these just for your data safety. Thank you for those insights. You talked about technology. I wonder if you're using AI tools for efficiency, because today in every conference room, every meeting, there's going to be at least one word about AI for it being efficient, but also for creativity and marketing. Then you talked about customer service, where people should really get to understand and zero down on the persona of their customers. I wonder, how is that being applied in product development or product management?
Today, we are using AI in so many areas, especially in marketing space. We are using for copywriting. Copywriting is basically you're creating flyers for your business. You want them to have really beautiful wording and beautiful content that's relevant to your project. In a normal marketing agency, we usually have what we call copywriters.
Yeah.
These are full-time people employed to read through, contextualize what you want to communicate. In a small business, you may not be able to afford that. We use AI for copywriting. Usually, there are so many apps in AI. You can use ChatGPT if you know how to use it really well. There are other tools like Copy AI that can also be used to be able to help you with that. We're also using AI to be able to create images. In our marketing space, one of the ways we work is that we don't pick people's images and content without permission. That means we have to continuously buy images, but now we can be able to build our own AI images.
Yeah.
My best app is Midjourney. Even a 10-year-old can learn to use it on their own.
Yeah.
So we can use people to develop images that can be used in flyers and things like that. Then we can also use it for academia to be able to do certain kind of work. However, there's a need to declare that I've used AI to do any academic work so that you are not in trouble later. That to use an AI tool for academia, people are using it for different ways. Either you're doing for research or you're using it to be able to rewrite your work in proper grammar. Lecture at UMI, marketing.
Wonderful.
So I get to see a lot of written work, which sometimes doesn't come in proper grammar. Today, there is no excuse in terms of how we write our emails, how I generate my CV, how I generate my cover letters. They can't have mistakes because we have a lot of tools to use. Apart from ChatGPT, I use Quillbot a lot. There's Grammarly to be able to support with that. Quillbot helps me to be able to paraphrase, rephrase my work, add more content. Also helps me understand if I've plagiarized anything. It has a plagiarism checker, which
Okay.
helps me check my work, especially if I'm doing any academic papers,
Yeah.
to make sure that I have not copied anyone's work.
Yeah.
I have done my work well. So AI can be used anywhere. When you're talking about finance, we're using AI tools to enter finance data. You can use an AI tool to be able to enter invoices into accounting tools. What happens is that as a finance manager, maybe I have my subordinates who are entering data every week, especially in the area of understanding if we are doing any double entries or you're entering invoices twice. That whole area of fraud, you're able to manage it. The system can now tell that this invoice has been entered before and flag it off and say, no, this has been entered before. In the area of agriculture, we're using a lot of AI to be able to help us in forecasting weather, helping us to understand what kind of plants or kind of food crops that can grow in certain areas at a certain times. So much in healthcare, we have also seen it being able to predict if someone will fall sick of certain cancers because of maybe family history or certain markers in their blood work or DNA that is trying to tell that. In customer service, we're using it to answer messages. MTN has Ziggy, Centenary Bank has sent a chat to be able to support them with customer service. All those are like chatbots, virtual assistants, like Siri, Alexa. All those are AI tools in our everyday life. So it just depends on which area. Is it marketing? Is it finance? What are we looking for?
It's fantastic advice. I can tell with the 15 years of your experience, then that really goes a long way. So the young people who are listening in should be able to apply that wherever they find it fit. You mentioned right now that you're also a lecturer at UMI. That's beautiful. I could tell as I prepared for this episode that you've been mentoring young people. What's that one lesson that you've learned throughout your journey that has been a game changer for you?
My biggest lesson is dreaming big. Like, dream big and don't apologize for dreaming big. When you dream big, something magical happens. You may not have the best blueprint for your life right now, but because you're dreaming big, you're able to constantly see the opportunities that take you to the next level. There's nothing like the plan is from here to here, here to there. When I moved from engineering to marketing was not really a plan at the beginning, but because of what I was seeing around me, listen to what people say about you, especially in terms of your strengths. Don't limit yourself. Listen to people. They know you better sometimes. They say, Primera, you do this really well. That's one of the things why I actually moved to marketing, because my colleagues kept telling me, you do this really well. So I kept saying, okay, if I'm good at this, where do I put this in practice? Then you end up moving to something else.
Dream big. Don't be afraid to dream, Patriot. If there was an investor listening, a young person, where do you see the opportunities? And you're in a unique place coming from engineering to marketing. What have you noticed probably in other markets that we don't have here? Where could the opportunities be?
In my tech space, I'll just tell you a secret. The tech space in Uganda may not be the biggest when you compare it in Africa. However, the people in the sector are really good with what they do. That day I was telling someone there's some sort of application that has been giving people a really hard time. And I told them, sometimes we look for support outside of Uganda. I keep telling people I can actually assemble a fully Ugandan team that can build anything. We're that good. Some of the areas where we've seen a lot of support, but yet there are still gaps, is like in the fintech space. As much as we have many banks, over 20 banks in the country, we have so many fintechs, but there's still so much opportunity. There's still so many people in the unbanked space. Today, it may not be easy to even tell a young person, unless they have a really good formal job, that's when they'll open a bank account. But sometimes they'll prefer to be in the digital wallet space. They also want to get money, that is the money lending, micro savings. They want to save every day. You have a lot of border riders. How do you get them to amass money? How to keep up? Sometimes they will tell you a bank account may not be the best option. So there's still a lot of work around the fintech space. There's also a lot of work around agri-tech. The agricultural value chain get digitized. The farmers, where are they going to sell their produce? You're producing watermelons, you're producing pineapples. Some of the best pineapples in the world are coming from Uganda. So how do I get the farmer to sell their products at the best price to the best people? Automation of that supply chain still has a lot of gaps. In healthcare, we still have gaps, especially in some of the areas out of Kampala. When you've lived in Kampala all your life, some of these things don't look like a big deal until you have a mother somewhere in a remote village who can't be reached, who can't even communicate that they need help. That's still a big deal. In the education sector, we're also seeing a lot of gaps, especially my area of tech and digital literacy. We still need to do a lot. Earlier this year, I had to do a mentorship program with women. They were between 50 and 65 in Garuga. These women, because they have children who are working and who have sent them a smartphone, they have internet, but they don't even know how to use that. They have children. When the children in COVID would tell them, I need a tablet or I need a laptop to be able to still do school, they didn't quite understand. I spent a whole day with them trying to help them understand how they could use their phones much more, because they're only using their phones for just calling and SMS. And then they only use like WhatsApp when the child has called and they need to be on a video call to talk to their grandchildren. That was really the case scenario. Helping them understand simple things. You can actually learn even in your old age. You can actually access YouTube in Uganda. You can actually use voice prompts if you can't write. It's okay if you never learn to write. You can use voice prompts to actually find something that you actually want to learn. They are really super excited. They're like, okay, I can actually learn something. Digital literacy is basically helping them understand what more can we do in simple terms, not complicated things like how I'm going to post my post. No, for them, it was simple. How can I use my phone better? There's also a lot of work there in the education space, being able to help people learn from home. I can actually find courses online that can support me. And also schools to be able to provide the content that people can actually consume digitally.
I wonder what's next for Analytics Business Center. What exciting projects are you working on?
Right now, as a business, we have partnered with a company called Zoho. Zoho is a company that has 100 million users globally. We are supporting businesses to consume applications that they need for their businesses. For example, accounting, human resource, project management, social media, email, everything within a business. We call ourselves a business operating system that we can be able to support a business wholly. That's what we're trying to do, to digitize companies in Uganda, to get them to use technology for the very first time and to give them solutions that are not costly. When you come to having a business, I have to make a decision whether I'm going to pay an employee or I'm going to buy a tool. So we don't want that decision. We want to make it so affordable for you that it doesn't have an effect on your bottom line, but instead it's adding value to you.
I was talking about the power of collaboration. It's amazing to see different brands collaborating and creating some really fun stuff that is really impactful to the communities they operate. That's nice to see about Zoho. Just like you mentioned, today there's a lot of tools that we are using as an agency in my 9 to 5, which is great. But I think if they are more customized, for example, if you live in Uganda and you have a collaboration with Zoho, you definitely have experience that these applications or this software will work for our context. We now have the very last question that we normally ask every guest that comes onto the podcast. Are you ready, Muthoni?
Yes, I am.
You gave very valid points on the opportunities that there are in this space. And I want to pick your brain on what you think it's going to take Uganda to achieve a middle-class economy.
Oh, that's an interesting question. I had touched on one, which is really about investing in human capital, which is education, skill development, digital literacy, supporting an innovative workforce. Those are really key. Some of the spaces that we see will take us there. One is tech. We can't ignore it. That's why you see that the government has really tried. Last year, they released the digital transformation roadmap, and it encompassed many sectors. It wasn't just for the government. There was a lot of work for the private sector to also work on. Other areas are in manufacturing, which is also very big, and also the service industry to make sure that that's covered. Those are three sectors that need attention. The other one is supporting SMEs and entrepreneurship. The SMEs are the ones who are in tech, they're in manufacturing, and they're in services. We have invested in human capital. We have provided the rails in terms of technology and manufacturing. We also need to be able to support them. Do they have enough capital? When someone comes to the new base, can we be able to support him? Can we be able to give him money? Is there business mentorship? We've seen a lot being done at NSSF Innovator. Their goal is 75,000 entrepreneurs. So you can imagine, by the time we are done with that, there will be a lot of entrepreneurs who are actually being mentored. Streamlining a lot of regulation, but that's being done. Then just creating a very good environment for them, especially the businesses that are starting up in tech, in agriculture, the service industry. Infrastructure development, the roads, electricity, the internet. Is internet stable in the country? Do we have good speeds? We have electricity. We can't have that going off, especially 8 to 5 when people are working. Good roads. We need to be able to move products around the country with stability.
Quite valid points. What's your advice for businesses to contribute to this economy?
We complain too much. Just getting to a point where we're not complaining, and then we are trying to understand what part am I going to play to make this a better country and a better space for everybody. Providing mentorship to other businesses, which are smaller, being able to create that space and also participate. Sometimes there are programs and people are not participating in them. Recently, I've interacted with some government spaces. URSB has a lot of learning. I've been there this year to learn. I have seen private spaces like Stanbic Incubator, NSSF. There's so many spaces for people to learn. You just need to make the time. I don't want any business person to complain, because there's a place I can fix them, like to go to be able to learn something. The other thing is also, as a business, we need to support the young people. There's a program that PSFU was running, which was the Work Readiness Program. And I participated in it. That's why I would speak about it. They want students who have just finished university in the last 2 years. There's a portal. You can sign up as a business to be able to interact with them. So they apply to the portal and you get to pick somebody to come to your business. And guess what? They're actually paying them a salary to be at your business. So all you have to do is get them to learn. That by the time they are applying for their first jobs, your place may be their first job, they have actually learned some. You can't say that I won't take on someone who has just finished university because I don't have money.
What program is this?
No, PSFU. It's called the Work Readiness Program.
Yeah. Wonderful.
It is with MasterCard, Enable, and I think the EU. So we support businesses to take on students fresh out of university or 2 years in. As a student, all you need to do is log on to the portal and put all your details and upload your school documentation and your CV, and that's it. Businesses will come and pick you on, and it's in different sectors: hospitality, technology. You just need to say where you're interested in. Also, businesses, please engage with such areas, because the next time you go for funding in PSFU, you can say, I've also been part of the Work Readiness Program. Not just that I need funding, I need capital, but have you actually engaged in the actual activities that go on in the country? They asked for companies to come and do BDS training for the Grow project. All that training was free last year. They call you for 2 days in a room as a business. Have you learned how to do all this?
Yeah.
When the programs actually start and they ask who can actually support, you're ready.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of opportunity in the country right now for any business in any sector.
Yeah.
Because like for the Grow project, when they were doing the BDS, they were in every sector, whether it's business development, whether it is accounting, it didn't matter which area you're coming from. So there's a lot of opportunity. You just need to look for it and go to it. These programs are actually not being charged. They're asking you come and learn. You're actually the one getting money at the end of the program. There's a lot of opportunity.
It's so brilliant, Muthoni, how you openly share your advice. You're a true mentor because throughout this podcast, you've just been sharing plugs on where people should sign up, sharing plugs on different career advice. We couldn't thank you enough for making time for this. Thank you so much. We can tell that your passion is true. It's not just for LinkedIn. It's had and felt. Your insights are definitely going to be, I think, for me, taken into action. And I believe also for the patriot who is listening in today. I think so many points you have mentioned, and I've been nodding in agreement, and I hope there's been a listener who has also been nodding in agreement with me. We could never thank you enough for this. Where do people find you if they want to follow up?
I'm online using my name, Primera Muthoni, and everywhere, LinkedIn, X. I'm very active on LinkedIn.
Wonderful. I feel like we've touched most of it. Do you think there's anything else you want to share?
Just for people to enjoy technology and be patient with it. It's evolving every day. So where you see errors, tomorrow they'll be fixed. The next time you log on to your banking app or a telco app, don't get too upset. Someone is fixing something all the time. Be patient with tech.
Yeah.
We are developing it and we are growing.
Thank you for listening in this far. I really hope that this conversation was helpful to you. Share this episode with your colleagues or friends that you think will benefit from this information. Let them know what you're listening to. Would you also rate our podcast? Because once you rate our podcast, other people like you are able to listen to this information and use it to their own benefit. On a lighter note, follow us on TikTok and Instagram. We really would love to hear your